The radio crackles. Static. Then screaming. IED! IED! We got men down! I'm face first in the dirt, tasting Afghanistan, grit, diesel fuel, and something metallic that might be blood, might be mine. The ringing in my ears won't stop. Through the dust cloud, I see Martinez's boot. Just his boot. The rest of him is scattered across 50 meters of Highway 1, outside Kandahar. My rifle's somewhere. I can't feel my left hand. Tommy's voice cuts through the chaos, high and desperate. Where's Rodriguez? Where the fuck is Rodriguez? I know where Rodriguez is. I saw him step on it. The smell hits me, burning diesel mixed with something else. Something that used to be human. I try to stand, but my legs won't work. The world spins like a carnival ride from hell. Dust off. We need dust off now. But there's no dust off for ghosts. Before the sandbox, I was just another kid from Ohio who couldn't afford college and didn't want to end up like my old man, drunk, bitter, and working the same factory job for 30 years. The recruiter in his dress blues made it sound simple. Serve your country, get the GI Bill, see the world. He didn't mention the world would be 80% sand and 20% things trying to kill you. I was 19 when I signed the papers. Mom cried. Dad just grunted and cracked another beer. Army'll make a man out of you, he said. God knows I couldn't. Basic was cake compared to what came after. Fort Benning broke us down and built us back up into something harder. I learned to march, shoot, and follow orders without thinking. Most importantly, I learned that the guy next to you might be the only thing standing between you and a body bag. My first deployment started in March 2009. The bird lifted off from Bagram and I watched America disappear below the clouds. Next time I'd see her, I'd be different. We all would be. Fob lightning sat in a valley outside Kandahar like a metal scab on the desert floor. HESCO barriers, razor wire, and guard towers that gave you a 360 view of absolutely nothing but rocks and more rocks. The smell hit you first. Human sweat, burning trash, and diesel generators running 24/7. Welcome to paradise. Our hooch was a converted shipping container that housed 8 of us. The walls were thin enough that you could hear Johnson jerking off in his bunk every night, and thick enough that Taliban mortars usually didn't punch through. Usually. My squad leader was Staff Sergeant Williams, a 3-tour veteran from Detroit who'd seen enough Shoah to fill a library. Keep your head down, your mouth shut, and your rifle clean. He told us fresh meat on day 1. Do that, and you might make it home with all your pieces. There was Rodriguez, Danny Rodriguez from East LA, quick with a joke and quicker with his M4. Kid had a girlfriend back home named Maria who sent him letters every week. He'd read them to us sometimes, and we'd pretend not to listen. Martinez was our medic, a quiet Mexican-American from Texas who kept photos of his 3 daughters taped inside his helmet. Tommy Chen handled communications, nervous energy wrapped in Kevlar and optimism. Peterson was our heavy gunner, a farm boy from Iowa who could put rounds downrange like he was harvesting corn. Big Mike Jackson ran point, 6'4" of Mississippi muscle, who could spot an IED from 200 meters. Washington was our sniper, steady hands from Chicago who never missed what he aimed at. And there was me, just another rifle in the line, trying not to fuck up. The first month was routine patrols and boredom punctuated by moments of pure terror. We'd roll out at 0:30, hit the villages, shake hands with the elders, and pretend the kids throwing rocks weren't practicing for something deadlier. The locals watched us with eyes that gave nothing away. Some waved, some spat, most just stared. Hearts and minds, Williams would say after each patrol, and we're winning hearts and minds. But the sandbox had a way of changing hearts and stopping minds permanently. It was supposed to be a routine patrol. Emphasis on supposed to. October 15th, 2009. The date is burned into my brain like a fucking tattoo. We rolled out at 5:30 hours, 2 Humvees carrying our squad to investigate reports of Taliban activity in a village called Kandahar. Intelligence said it was light resistance, maybe a few foreign fighters passing through. Intelligence was wrong. Intelligence was always wrong. The road to the village snaked through a valley like a brown ribbon laid across the desert floor. Perfect kill zone. Should have seen it coming, but you get comfortable. You think you know the terrain, know the enemy patterns. You think you're smarter than some goat herder with an AK-47 and a grudge. You think wrong. Rodriguez was driving our lead vehicle, humming some Mexican song under his breath. Martinez rode shotgun, cleaning his glasses for the 10th time that morning. I was in back with Tommy, checking comms, when Rodriguez's voice cut through the engine noise. Movement. 2 o'clock. About 300 meters. I followed his line of sight to a cluster of mud brick buildings. Nothing looked out of place, but in Afghanistan, nothing ever did until it was too late. "I'm probably goats," Martinez said. "Goats don't carry AK-47s, Rodriguez muttered. Williams's voice crackled over the radio from the trail vehicle. "Overwatch reports all clear. Stay frosty, but keep moving." That's when the world exploded. The IED was buried deep, probably 50 pounds of homemade explosives packed with ball bearings and scrap metal. Rodriguez must have triggered it with the front wheel. One second we were rolling at 20 miles per hour, the next we were airborne. The blast flipped our Humvee like a toy truck. I remember the sensation of weightlessness, then the crushing impact as we hit the ground upside down. My helmet cracked against something hard. Blood ran down my face, warm and sticky. "Contact! Contact!" Williams screamed over the radio. "IED strike. Vehicle 1 is down. We're taking fire from multiple positions." Through the spider-webbed windshield, I could see muzzle flashes from the buildings. The Taliban had waited for us to hit the IED, then opened up with everything they had. Classic L-shaped ambush. Textbook. Tommy was unconscious, blood seeping from his ears. Martinez was screaming, not words, just raw sound. His left leg was bent at an angle that made my stomach turn. I tried to reach for my rifle but couldn't find it in the wreckage. "Rodriguez," I called out. "Danny, talk to me." No response. I crawled toward the driver's seat, pieces of glass cutting through my uniform. Rodriguez was still in his harness, but something was wrong with his chest. Something wet and dark was spreading across his body armor. His eyes found mine. I can't feel my legs, man." "You're gonna be fine," I lied. "Medic's right here. Martinez is gonna fix you up." But Martinez was in no condition to fix anyone. His medical bag was somewhere in the twisted metal, and his leg looked like hamburger. The shooting intensified. Bullets sparked off the hull of our overturned vehicle. Williams and the others in the trail Humvee were returning fire, but we were pinned down in a fucking death trap. "Dust off. We need dust off now," Williams called over the radio. "A negative on dust off," came the reply from base. "LZ is too hot. QRF is en route. ETA 20 minutes. 20 minutes might as well have been 20 hours. Tommy came to, groaning and confused. "What happened? Why can't I hear anything?" "IED, I told him. "We need to get out of this vehicle before they drop mortars on us." I found my rifle wedged under Martinez's body. The barrel was bent, but it might still fire. I checked the chamber, 1 round ready to go. My spare mags were scattered somewhere in the wreckage. Rodriguez's breathing was getting shallow. Frothy blood bubbled from his mouth with each exhale. Punctured lung, maybe worse. He reached for something in his cargo pocket, the latest letter from Maria. "Tell her," he whispered. "Tell her yourself when we get home," I said. He smiled, and more blood came up. "Tell her I was thinking about the beach. That day in Santa Monica when she wore the yellow dress." Those were the last words Danny Rodriguez ever spoke. The Taliban fighters were getting closer. I could hear their voices now, coordinating the assault. Williams's squad was putting up heavy fire, but there were too many of them. They had us surrounded. "We need to move," I told Tommy and Martinez. "This vehicle is a coffin." I kicked out the rear window and crawled through, dragging Tommy with me. Martinez screamed as we pulled him out, his leg leaving a trail of blood in the sand. We took cover behind the overturned Humvee just as an RPG streaked overhead and exploded 50 meters away. That's when I saw Peterson. He was crawling toward us from the trail vehicle, his machine gun slung across his back. Blood ran from a head wound, but he was mobile. Behind him, Big Mike was laying down suppressing fire with his M4. "How bad?" Peterson asked when he reached our position. I looked back at Rodriguez through the broken window. His eyes were still open, but there was nobody home. Rodriguez is KIA. Martinez needs a real medic. Tommy's concussed but mobile. Peterson nodded and set up his machine gun. "Williams wants us to consolidate at the trail vehicle. Can Martinez move?" I looked at our medic. His face was pale from blood loss, but he was conscious. "Can you walk?" "Fuck walking," Martinez said through gritted teeth. "I can crawl if I have to." We made the move under heavy fire, 20 meters of open ground that felt like 20 miles. Tommy and I dragged Martinez while Peterson covered us with bursts from his M240. Bullets kicked up dirt all around us, but somehow we made it. Williams was behind the trail vehicle with Washington and Jackson. Washington had his rifle set up, picking off targets with methodical precision. Jackson was on the radio, calling in coordinates for air support. "Where's Rodriguez?" Williams asked. "KIA," I reported. "IED got him." Williams closed his eyes for just a moment. "Shh. How's Martinez?" "Needs a hospital," Martinez said, "but I can still work." The firing slackened for a moment. In the relative quiet, I could hear Williams talking to base on the radio. Lightning base, this is Bravo 2-6. We have 1 KIA, multiple WIA, still taking effective fire from unknown number of enemy. Request immediate air support. Over. Bravo 2-6, air support inbound. ETA 15 minutes. Can you hold? Williams looked around at what was left of his squad. Martinez was pale and getting paler. Tommy kept asking the same questions over and over. I was running on adrenaline and anger. Peterson, Washington, and Jackson looked like they could keep fighting, but we were low on ammo and lower on luck. "Roger, lightning base. We'll hold." The Taliban must have heard the radio chatter or seen something in our body language because they came at us hard. Muzzle flashes erupted from every window and doorway in the village. The sound was overwhelming. AK-47s on full auto, the crack of bullets passing overhead, the metallic ping of rounds hitting our vehicles. Washington's rifle spoke once, twice, 2 down. He reported calmly. Peterson's machine gun chattered in short bursts, conserving ammo. Jackson was firing single shots, making each round count. But there were too many of them, and they were getting closer. An RPG streaked past my head and exploded against a rock outcropping. Shrapnel whistled through the air. Another one hit the ground 10 meters away, showering us with dirt and stones. "They're flanking left," Jackson called out. I turned to see 3 Taliban fighters moving through the rocks on our left side. They were close enough that I could see their faces. Young men, maybe my age, with the same desperate look in their eyes that I felt in my chest. I fired my bent-barrel M4. The first shot took down the lead fighter. The second misfired. The bent barrel had finally given up. I was down to my sidearm, a 9mm pistol with 2 magazines. "I'm Winchester on rifle," I called out. "Winchester, military speak for out of ammo." Peterson tossed me his backup rifle. "Make 'em count." The Taliban fighters were regrouping for another assault when we heard it, the distant thrum of rotor blades. Apache helicopters coming in low and fast. "Hellfire inbound!" Williams shouted. "Keep your heads down." The Apaches opened up with their 30mm chain guns. The sound was like the world ending, a continuous buzzsaw roar that shredded everything in its path. Mud brick walls exploded into clouds of dust. Bodies that had been shooting at us moments before simply disappeared. In less than 2 minutes, it was over. The silence afterward was almost as deafening as the gunfire had been. My ears were ringing so loud I couldn't hear my own breathing. Dust hung in the air like fog, slowly settling over the battlefield. Williams stood up cautiously, his rifle still at the ready. "Sound off. Everyone okay?" We were alive, but none of us were okay. Martinez needed surgery. Tommy had a concussion that would plague him for years. The rest of us were walking around with holes in our souls that would never heal. The QRF arrived 20 minutes later, 3 more Humvees full of fresh-faced soldiers who looked at us like we were ghosts. Maybe we were. They medevaced Martinez and Tommy first. The rest of us had to stay and secure the scene while the investigation team did their work. I watched them load Rodriguez into a body bag, zipping it up over the face that used to smile at Maria's letters. Later, back at the FOB, Williams found me sitting outside the aid station. I was still wearing my gear, still had Rodriguez's blood on my hands. "You did good out there," he said. "Rodriguez is dead. Rodriguez is dead because some son of a butch buried a bomb in the road. Not because of anything you did or didn't do." But I knew better. I should have seen the signs, should have spotted the IED, should have been driving instead of Rodriguez, should have done something, anything, different. That night, I wrote the letter to Maria. Told her about the yellow dress in Santa Monica Beach, told her Rodriguez loved her more than life itself. Didn't tell her about the blood, or the way his eyes went empty, or how he whispered her name as he died. Some truths are too heavy for civilians to carry. The bird that took me home from Bagram was packed with soldiers going on leave or finishing their tours. Most of us stared out the windows in silence, watching Afghanistan shrink beneath us until it was just another brown smudge on the earth. But you can't leave some things behind, no matter how high you fly. Cleveland looked exactly the same as when I'd left it 2 years earlier. Same gray sky, same tired buildings, same sense that the world was moving forward while you stood still. But I was different. I was hollow inside, like someone had scooped out everything that used to be me and left only the shell. Mom picked me up at the airport. She'd gained weight and gone gray at the temples, but her smile was the same. "Welcome home, honey," she said, and wrapped me in the kind of hug that used to make everything better. It didn't work anymore. The house felt too quiet, too clean, too safe. I kept waking up at 300, listening for incoming mortars that never came. The refrigerator hum sounded like a generator. Car backfires made me hit the deck. A neighbor's barbecue grill triggered something deep in my brain. The smell of burning meat, smoke, diesel fuel, and Rodriguez. Dad tried to connect by offering me beer and asking about action. Mom wanted to hear about the local people and whether I'd made friends. They meant well, but they might as well have been speaking a foreign language. How do you explain the weight of a loaded rifle to someone who's never carried one? How do you describe the taste of fear to someone who thinks danger is getting a speeding ticket? How do you talk about Rodriguez's last words to people who think war is what they see in movies? You don't. You just smile and nod and say you're fine, even when you're drowning. I found work at a construction site, manual labor that kept my hands busy and my mind blank. But evenings were the worst. Too much time to think, too much quiet to fill. I started drinking. Not a lot at first, just enough to take the edge off, then enough to sleep, then enough to forget, even if it was only for a few hours. The VA shrink was a nice lady who asked gentle questions and made careful notes. She wanted to know about my feelings and my trauma. She used words like PTSD and survivor's guilt like they were magic spells that could make the ghosts go away. But she'd never seen Rodriguez's eyes go empty. She'd never felt Martinez's blood on her hands. She'd never wondered why she got to come home when better men didn't. I met Sarah at a coffee shop downtown. She was a nurse, kind and patient, with hands that could heal instead of destroy. We dated for 6 months before I worked up the courage to tell her about Afghanistan. She listened without judging, held me when the nightmares came, and loved me despite the broken pieces. We got married on a sunny Saturday in May. Rodriguez would have liked her. She had the same laugh as Maria, warm and musical. For a while I thought maybe I could be normal again. Maybe love could fill the hollow spaces. But you can't love away a war. The first time Sarah hugged me from behind while I was washing dishes, I spun around and grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave bruises. The look in her eyes, fear mixed with pity, cut deeper than any Taliban bullet. "I'm sorry," I said, "but sorry doesn't undo reflex." "It's okay," she whispered, but we both knew it wasn't. The panic attack started small. Crowded spaces made my chest tight. Sudden movements triggered the old hypervigilance. 4th of July fireworks sounded like incoming mortars. I'd find myself scanning rooftops for snipers, checking corners for IEDs, counting exits like they taught us in theater security briefings. Sarah tried to understand, but how could she? She'd never had to choose between killing and dying, never had to carry a friend's blood under her fingernails, never had to write letters to girlfriends who would never see their men again. The marriage lasted 18 months. I don't blame her for leaving. Living with a ghost is harder than loving one. Now I'm alone in a studio apartment that costs too much and smells like the previous tenant's cigarettes. I work construction during the day and drink bourbon at night. Sometimes I write letters to Maria that I never send, telling her about Rodriguez's last words and how he never stopped loving her. The VA keeps calling about appointments and support groups, groups full of other ghosts, sitting in circles, talking about feelings and healing. But some wounds don't heal. Some ghosts don't rest. Martinez sends Christmas cards from Texas. His leg healed crooked, but he walks. Tommy got out of the army and teaches high school now. Peterson never came back from his 3rd deployment. IED outside Fallujah took him and 3 others. Williams retired and moved to Montana, as far from the sandbox as he could get. We don't talk about Rodriguez. Dead men don't get updates. Sometimes, late at night when the bourbon doesn't work and sleep won't come, I can still hear his voice. Tell her I was thinking about the beach, that day in Santa Monica when she wore the yellow dress. I never told her. How do you call a stranger and say her boyfriend's last thoughts were of her smile? How do you explain that he died for reasons nobody can articulate, in a place nobody cares about, fighting an enemy that looks like the people we were supposed to protect? You don't. You carry it alone, like everything else. The war in Afghanistan ended officially, but it never ends for those of us who came back in pieces. We walk among civilians who think freedom is free, who sleep peacefully because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. They don't know the cost, and maybe that's better. Rodriguez was 22 when he died. He'd been planning to propose to Maria when he got back. Had the ring picked out and everything. Sometimes I wonder what kind of father he would have been. What kind of husband. But dead men don't get futures. I got his. I'm living the life that should have been his. The coming home. The growing older. The chance to love and be loved. Survivor's guilt. The shrink called it. But guilt is too small a word for this weight. Every sunrise Rodriguez doesn't see is borrowed time. Every breath I take is one he should have taken. Every moment of happiness feels like theft from a ghost who deserves it more. This is what war really costs, not just the ones who don't come home, but the pieces of the ones who do. We carry our dead with us, Their unfinished stories written in our scars, their unspoken words echoing in our silence. Rodriguez wanted me to tell Maria about the beach and the yellow dress. But the truth is bigger than that message. The truth is that good men die in bad places for reasons that make sense only to politicians and profiteers. The truth is that some of us come home, but we never really leave. The sandbox follows us everywhere, in the taste of dust on the wind, in the sound of helicopters overhead, in the weight of ghosts we can't bury. And sometimes, when the bourbon works and sleep finally comes, I dream about a beach in Santa Monica where a girl in a yellow dress is still waiting for a soldier who's never coming home. But she'll wait forever, because that's what love does. That's what we died for. That's what I live with.